before the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. You're going to like our show today because we have actress Beata Posniak and singer Cameron Silver. So stay with us as we profile each guest. Beata Posniak was born in Gdansk, Poland. She earned a Master of Fine Arts from the Roman Polanski Film School in Lodz and went on to be a major star in her country, working in film, television, and on stage. Why wasn't that enough to keep you in Eastern Europe, Beata?
Well, at some point, it's not enough just to have a good position in your business, in your field. I was thinking that if ever I would have a family and children, I do not want them to grow up in Poland, because it was that time when I was doing the martial law. I'm from Gdańsk, as you said, which is the home of solidarity. And it was very difficult. For many months, everything was closed. We had food coupons, nothing to eat. I would look out the window and there were tanks for miles. There was police hour. We could not listen to the news. It was just like maybe 1 hour a day, a program run by the government. And I thought, this is it. It's time for a change. And I always had a dream to come to here, to America. I was always, my biggest nourishment really were American films. And that's what I saw in Poland, and I thought, wow, I want to be there sometime, and that's how it happened.
In a short time, while you were in school and as you were out of school, I'd say in, 10 years, you made 15 films, you were on the stage all the time. You were a major person there, and it still didn't change the lifestyle.
Yeah, it was great here for yourself, but what does it matter if you get your food coupons and you have nothing to eat?
You live the same way as everyone else.
I thought, I have to live better no matter what. And even when I came here with a one-way ticket, I thought, even if I would have to change my career, my occupation, I'm ready to do it, because I cannot, live like that anymore.
So you came here with the one-way ticket. Was that in 1986 when you came
when the
to
borders opened, that's when I just decided this is it. And I took like a 6-month visa just to have like a culture exchange, see what happens. And I came here with a film of mine, Andrzej Wajda's film at the AFI Film Festival. And
how do you say his name?
Andrzej Wajda.
And we say Wajda.
Yeah,
so that's what I want. It's the same person, right?
Yes. And I never saw it, because very often what happens in Poland, you work on really great projects, but you never get to see them. Rarely you get to see them at that time, because they go on shelves for many reasons, censorship, political reasons. And so anyway, I saw this film for the first time here with the audience, and the film went back, I stayed.
Oh, that's how it was.
That's how it happened. I thought, wow, what a country.
That's great. You studied in New York at the Berghoff Studio?
Well, first, I wanted to learn what is the American system. So I asked around, where could I study just to see how things work here? Because it's a different method in Europe, different here, and I wanted just to learn. And everybody said, well, there's this guy, there's Sandy Meisner, there's Walter Hagen, but Berghoff, yeah, but he's tough, so I don't think you should go to him. I said, oh, that's the person I want to go, because he will teach me something, and I don't want someone just to say, oh, this is great, fantastic. So when I met him, he said, go out, get out. And I was confused, and I said, my gosh, what did I do? And he said, no, out. You don't need me. Just get yourself an agent and work. You got your master's, you could teach here, out.
Really?
And I was just like, and I felt very lost first in the beginning. I did not know where to go, and that was an interesting introduction. He just told me that I have to really be strong, and just, he gave me really courage, and just go out there and just fight.
So that was a great lesson for you.
Oh, great lesson,
Did
yes.
you come speaking English?
Very little. It was more very British, and of course, but the British English that we learn in school in Poland. And then I was taking classes here, and it was, instead of I would say I can't, you know, things you just learn the accent.
You did go to UCLA as well, and what kind of studies did you take there?
Well, because here it's a different system than in Europe. You see, in Europe you have to get a degree in order to get on stage or perform, act in films or television. Here, everybody has a chance. Everybody has this wonderful opportunity. So in order to understand the system, I thought, I will go and study. I went to AFI, UCLA, and I studied production. I wanted to see how it happens from the other side of the camera. See, in Europe, in Poland at that time, everything was run by the government. Here, I just learned that many actresses have their own production companies. They produce, and they have their own projects. And one day, that's what I would like to have, and have a development.
In the meantime, you did found the Theater of Discordia?
Yes.
Theatre Discordia? What is that?
Actually, Theater Discordia. Well, when you look back, we had, like, let's say, Renaissance, Baroque, medieval times. There was a style. Right now, the times we live in, anything goes. So that's Discordia for me. You know, any Baroque, everything goes.
I see.
But like Nietzsche says, out of chaos comes order. So I really enjoy the process here because everything goes and I'm learning so much, and that's why how I started producing and directing performance art shows, and they were like part of Peter Sellers Los Angeles Festival. I wrote and directed a show called Poeticus Umbilicus, from Umbilicus character, and that was based on international poetry, where I performed, where my voice first is like male, then it becomes female, the child's voice, and it's this being that goes through different incarnations, lifetimes.
So is it one woman?
No, actually, many people with projections, lasers. Very
really?
multimedia show. But then the message is that we have to cut that cord.
And go on.
You have to be an independent person. And that's what's happening with me, because coming to this country to transplant yourself, I had to find for myself a new identity, which was not easy. It was going through a culture shock, and the beginnings were, I think, difficult. That's why this creation came from.
When you first started working here, the creation of the Theater Discordia, I didn't want to stop you, but when you first started working here, you were working with a lot of Polish directors.
And in Poland, not here.
Not here.
No, actually what happened after the film festival, which was very exciting to me, I know that Oliver Stone is very fond of Vaida, and that's how I was invited to audition for him for Marina Oswald in JFK.
Oh, that's what I wondered, how you got together. How did you get together with Oliver Stone? Through the director?
Well, actually it's ironic because I wanted to escape from politics, from Poland, and here's my debut, my first role, and so political part. It was just amazing. It was just a regular audition, and my agent sent me, and first, because it was so confidential, this Russian girl, and I was thinking, okay, I have to now speak Russian with a Russian accent, completely different. And I started going through the 26 volumes of Warren Commission every single time, a Newsweek magazine, everything. And I dressed like her, and I walked in like Marina.
When you first went to see him, and that's how you got the part.
Yeah.
And then you developed the part, I understand, to make it a heavier part than it was. It was just a walk-on.
Well, first it was just like 2 days, and what was interesting in the script when I read it, because like 2 months ongoing auditions, screen tests, and then when I read, finally I got the script, I see this, finally I got a line about Marina when it said, Marina and Lee having a fight, ad lib.
Ad lib.
Then I see, finally, where's next Marina? And there was another line, Marina at a party, ad lib.
So that opened everything for you.
It's like, again, the same, I was, so we had to improvise and come up with our text of our lines, and that's how I went first to meet with Marina in Dallas, and I stayed with her for about a couple of months, and that's how it really developed.
Oh,
and I had meetings with Garrison, and it was really a very special project to work on.
We have a clip from that, so we'd love to see it. Is there anything we should know about what time it is or anything about
well, that scene is a fight scene between me and Gary Oldman, and that's how we had to improvise. And what was great about it, I would never know what Gary will do, and Gary would never know what I will do. And it was just, we would like surprise each other. And
so here we are.
Here we are.
Okay, let's see JFK, Oliver Stone's movie.
Learning English, never want me go work. You never want me go out.
I want you
alone here.
to stay here with the children.
I like a dog, like a.
You are not a dog. I do not treat you like a dog.
Kennel. I'm locked, like in a
You are
kennel.
not locked. I give you freedom. You have friends
No,
here.
I locked them. There's no money here. Nothing. You go out and buy a rifle.
I have certain things here, Marina. I have told you I have a certain life. If you can't understand that.
But why do you stop?
Ruth, would you please keep out of this? Please stay there, please. For Christ's sake. Marina.
Stop. No, stop. Are you ashamed that you...
Russian.
Are you ashamed that you married a Russian?
I am not ashamed, but I want to marry. I thought I married a lady. Yeah, that's it. Come on, hit me, yes. I thought I married a lady. You're acting like a peasant.
So this is my American dream, da? Yeah, I came here. I could have stayed in Russia, you know.
Well, why don't you stay in Russia? Why didn't you go back to Russia? I'll stay here with the children. I stay here with the children. You go back to Russia, huh? This is what you want to do, huh?
Да, я буду! Я буду! Мамочка!
Hey!
Успокойся!
The two of you hurt each other in this?
Oh, at some point I didn't even know. I would just go to another room and suddenly I would be bleeding. And it was just amazing that I just had we would just be so spontaneous, and it was like two animals with the instincts and emotions. It was just an unbelievable experience to work in that way.
Well, now, standing up for yourself as a woman from a scene like this, would that have anything to do with your interest in the International Women's Day? I know you work with women in film, and they do a Women's Day, but the whole country, the whole United States doesn't recognize it as they do in Europe.
Well, yes, that's what's happened. When I joined Women in Film, I asked how everybody celebrates International Women's Day, and everybody went, the what? So it was exciting because this is the day I grew up with, and in the schools we would learn about what happened with women from different cultures, and usually that will be the headlines in the news, on television, how women would celebrate in China, in Switzerland, in Austria. And this day was actually formed in Copenhagen in 1910. There was a bill posted, they posted the bill, and then in 1913 it was put in motion. So symbolically, women wanted to have a voice, and this day was created to raise awareness that even 100 years ago, women were not allowed to study, go to a university, get a degree. They were not allowed to belong to libraries, to unions. So this was important to have that day, so whatever country you are in and whatever issue you want to work on, equal rights. I mean, it's interesting that the first country that gave women right to vote was New Zealand in 1893, then Australia in 1902, Finland 06, Russia in 1917, and United States 1920.
We were way behind.
So it's amazing to me that I realized that, you know, women really voted in the history of this country for the president 19 times only. So this day is pretty amazing that we can just celebrate and talk about and learn about different cultures and bond together and learn about each other.
And you're working with someone in Washington right now.
Yes, well, I said, well, what can we do? So every women's organization, all our organizations can celebrate it and learn from each other. So I wrote to the mayor, I wrote to the governor, and I wrote to the president, and I approached Congresswoman Maxine Waters, and I asked her to introduce the bill in Congress. So I'm very proud that this is happening.
So is it the same date every year?
Every year, March 8th, all over the world, it's a symbolical day. Women from different cultures bond and talk about their issues. Whatever, they need to be heard, find a voice.
This is a really great thing that you're doing, and I think you're going to bring it and help us in the United States. And before we go, we have this little comic clip of you talking about being a woman. So what's it from, Mad About You?
Mad About You?
Yeah, we'll just see that very quickly and we'll come back and say goodbye to you.
Okay.
Proper or the suburbs?
Minsk.
Minsk. Please. And how long have you been over here?
Since I leave Russian Navy.
Navy? She was in the Navy?
You should see her make a bed. You need a crowbar to pull the covers back.
And this is Murray.
You're not afraid of dogs, are you?
Well, as a girl, I kill wild boar with my hands.
A tough woman, isn't it? It really scared him. Anyway.
It was a different character. It was a really nice change for me to play from a very serious dramatic part to get into like different, like sitcom comedy, to show a different side of me.
Yeah, well, we've seen all sides of you today, and congratulations on becoming a United States citizen.
Thank you very much.
We're happy to have you, and we were glad to have you on the Joan Quinn Profiles.
Thank you for inviting me.
Don't go away. We'll be back with Cameron Silver. Hello, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with singer Cameron Silver, who feels right at home in the Beverly Hills television studios because he went to school at Beverly Hills High, and he lives just close by. He left his native California to study at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London, then returned to UCLA as a theater major. Cameron's collected drama awards and been praised for his work in cabaret. What does the word cabaret mean, Cameron?
Well, I have my own definition.
Okay.
I feel cabaret is a form of live theater which sort of encompasses all the great music of, especially 20th century music. So when I do cabaret, I like to use a lot of the old crooning standards, and the original influences of cabaret, I feel, come from the Weimar period in Germany. So I'll mix German music and then I'll throw in pop songs, because I have an audience, a very interesting audience of people who are familiar with the music originally that they heard in the 30s and 40s, and then I have a young audience of peers who enjoy the popular music.
Is there an exchange with the audience? Is that part of the genre?
I think that's what makes cabaret so special, is the audience really comes onto the stage in a sense. I mean, I love having an audience with hecklers.
Do they talk to you?
Oh yeah, they talk. Fortunately, they don't complain much, but it does make for a very special exchange between the audience. And cabaret traditionally is in a more intimate atmosphere, so it's really very special to sing songs that are often very passionate or very humorous, and really be with the audience as opposed to separated from the audience.
When you were in London going to school, did you go to cabaret performances around Europe or in London?
I have been to cabaret performances in London. I mean, I love the British theatre, which is just, I think, spectacular. But I didn't really find myself excited about cabaret until really the last year or 2 years, because it's sort of uprising in Los Angeles once again. I think there's a renewed popularity in cabaret, and it's always been popular in New York, and I found it was really the best avenue for me to express myself musically.
Why do you think that? Why do you think there's a resurgence of that now?
Well, I think we've got so much talent in Los Angeles, and I think once again young performers are good singers and good actors, and are educated again, and I think there's a particular interest in cabaret once again with the renewed interest with films like Schindler's List, which really historically take place at a time when cabaret was really blossoming and becoming very much what it is today. So I think with all the talent and, you know, there's not that much to do nightlife-wise in LA, and cabaret has always been a very special way to entertain yourself.
And you can do it in a very small venue, actually, can't you?
I just finished a very successful run at the Gardenia on Santa Monica Boulevard in La Brea, and here you only have 55 seats in a bar area, and you are really at one with the audience. I mean, if you mess up, they know you mess up, and they can see you breathe, and it's wonderful. It's so exciting.
But you can talk to them. You don't have that feeling of messing up.
It's really
Is
live.
that right? Yeah.
I mean, it's really spectacular.
I think it's interesting you bring it up as a trend in kind of what's happening with young people, and we were very much at the beginning of the trend with stand-up comedy, where everyone was doing stand-up. because it was also a kind of attachment to the people out there and getting feedback. This is maybe a different kind of thing that's happening.
Yeah, I think it's similar. I think like stand-up comedy, almost everybody felt, well, I can do stand-up comedy. And I think a lot of people go, well, I can do cabaret. Not necessarily being an excellent singer, an excellent actor, but it's...
Do you think it's true? Do you have to be an excellent singer, an excellent actor?
I think it helps. I like to think that I am, at least. But I have been to cabarets where I'm always so shocked that the people have the nerve to perform because they're not great singers or they're very mediocre actors. And I think traditionally, as we look back to some of the great cabaret performers, they weren't great singers, but they could sell a song.
Sell a song. I think that's it.
That's the key. But I've noticed with the new generation of cabaret performers and a lot of my peers, I mean, they are spectacular musicians, beautiful singers, and really fine actors because we tend to sing a repertoire of songs that are much more dramatic than what we might hear on the radio.
Are you vocally trained?
Yeah, I studied, aside from coming to Beverly Hills High School and graduating from UCLA, I've studied classical voice since I was 14 and had originally been very interested in opera, but I don't think I had the rigor for it and have studied with people from Motown as an R&B singer and finally sort of found myself coming full circle with an appreciation of really great singing, but contemporary singing.
One of the things that always amazes me, we talked about the trend in young people, is a young person like you could sing like an old person, like with this old soul.
Mm-hmm.
How do you have to study that?
I think it's interesting to study the former performers, but what's really amazing is, having just finished the show, is looking at people at the audiences who may have seen Sinatra perform live in his heyday and how I may cover some of his material and they really have a look of, I remember this. I remember hearing voices like this and they're so charmed. And then there are people, you know, in their 20s who are my age who've never really heard this style of singing and they just fall in love with it. You know,
so it was the Harry Connick kind of tradition where...
I think he opened a lot of doors. He did, and Michael Feinstein, as far as male singers in this genre, have really opened doors and sold well.
Andrea Marcovici.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was funny. She and I were playing the Gardenia the same week, so it was very exciting because she's really sort of the great cabaret singer of our generations.
We have a clip of you at, I don't know where it is, someplace
one of my performances.
One of your performances in Los Angeles. And it's called the Masochism Tango.
Yes.
Did you write it?
No, it's actually a Tom Lehrer song. I did not write it. It's not autobiographical, contrary to popular belief, but it's just a hilarious song.
Okay, well, let's see you perform it. We'll talk about it.
I think for the touch of your lips, dear, but much more for the touch of your whips, dear. You can race lips like nobody else. Masochism tango, but our love be a flame, not an ember. Seems to me that you want to dismember. Black in my eyes, set fire to my ties. Dance to the masochism tango. At your command, for you here I stand. My heart is in my hand. Oh, this is where I must be. My heart intrigues, the savage beats, and go put on your cleats. Your heart's hard as wood or mahogany. That's why I'm in such exquisite agony. My soul is on fire, it's aflame with desire. That's why I perspire when we tango.
That would be put in your repertoire, because I know you have different songs for different places.
Yeah, I have a very eclectic repertoire, and I tend to keep my shows in repertory, so this is one of the songs from one of my shows called Love and Hate.
Ah, I see.
And as you can see, this song has a little bit of both
Boing.
in it.
Yeah.
And then some.
So I understand you're taking German lessons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought I would be speaking German. It's funny, I went to school and I learned, of course, English and Italian and French, and then I fell in love with the German cabaret music, specifically the music of Kurt Weill and Frederick Hollander.
I would think that's the most important, the German aspect of your performing.
It's wonderful, and I think I just have a natural affinity for the music because it's very sensual, and knowing the time period, you know, this music was written in the 30s, and both Weill and Hollander were Jewish composers living in Germany, and they both narrowly escaped the Gestapo. And the music has a very interesting political overtones, and at the same time is hilarious.
And did Hollander Hollander's work is not as well known as the Weill
No,
work.
he came to America and actually became a very popular composer for films. Wrote 4 songs that were nominated for Oscars. Wrote for
Really?
Dietrich. His most famous songs would be "Falling in Love Again" and "I've Been in Love Before."
Ah.
But as far as a cabaret composer, he originated the Schulenranch cabaret in Berlin, and I feel his work is really the most prolific work that came out of Berlin cabaret. It's brilliant. He was a brilliant lyricist, and even when he came to America and composed in English, he wrote tremendously brilliant lyrics.
When you study German, do you think that helps bring out the emotions that these songs are, where they're written in German, and you're studying the language?
Yeah, there's something interesting, I think, specifically to German, is the fact that it is such an expressive language, as opposed to French and Italian, which are very beautiful. German has an edge to it, and I'm also very fortunate to be premiering all the official translations of Hollander's music, which are being done by Jeremy Lawrence, who's also the director on my shows.
Oh, I was going to ask you, who writes your shows?
Yeah, I work with Jeremy Lawrence, who's a wonderful director and actor, and has been designated the official translator of Hollander's German work. So we will work together, and he'll help me kind of fine-tune the show.
And before we leave, because we don't have much time left, do you see yourself being in a Broadway musical?
I'd love to do it. Give me the right part, and I'll be over there.
What is the right part? Would you have to write it?
You know, yeah, I'd love to write my own show, but if something brilliant came along, that a great piece of theater, it'd be a pleasure to do it.
Is there anything else that would be like the biggest achievement in your career?
I would love to become most successful performing the music of the 30s and 40s and being able to bridge generation gaps and have young audiences and old audiences appreciate the great American music.
Well, that's what we have today. We have young audiences and old audiences watching the Joan Quinn Profiles, and we thank Cameron Silver for being with us.
It's a pleasure.
And thanks for watching us today, and we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.